Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have you please take your seats. We're going to begin our service. This morning we pay tribute to an honored veteran. In doing so, we'll begin with taps. Those of you who are able to rise, please do so at this time. Those of you who have served in the military were honorably discharged. You are allowed to perform the hand salute. Thank you. You may be seated. We'll be able to take care of that. If you have a cell phone or a pager, would you please turn it off or set it to stun, please? You know you're old enough to have seen Star Trek in 1968 if you say set it to stun. Phasers to stun, so. You're here. Somebody doesn't know you're here. You don't turn your cell phone off, it rings, and you're like, so. Baruch Dayan Hamet, we praise the Judge of Truth. We'll begin with Psalm 121. Esai enai el haharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. Ezri me'im Adonai, oseh shamayim va'aretz. Al yitein namot raglecha, al yanum shomrecha. Hine lo yanum v'lo yishan shomer Yisrael. Adonai shomrecha, Adonai tzilcha ad yad yaminecha. Yomam hashemesh lo yekeka v'yorech b'layla. Adonai shmarcha mikol ra. Yishmor et nafshecha. Adonai shmar tzedcha v'oecha me'ata va'ad olam. I lift up mine eyes unto the mountains, from whence cometh my help. My help cometh from the Lord, maker of heaven and earth. The Lord will not let your foot give way, your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. And the Lord is your guardian, he is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord will guard you from all harm. He will guard your soul, your going and your coming, now and forever. And together let us recite in the English the 23rd Psalm. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. It's now a privilege to call forward Alexandra and Justin and Mark, and a couple of grandchildren and a son-in-law to eulogize our dear Howard.
All right, so um, Papa, or his my oldest calls him Great Papa. I feel really lucky and blessed to have known him throughout my life. He had a way of making me feel like I could accomplish anything.
You're okay. It's okay.
Right, so he was encouraging, like when I faced obstacles, even offering to help me find a job, like with the tax firm that he used to do his taxes with. Of course, throughout the years, he'd ask, like, if I got promoted, if I liked my job, or if I got a raise. He was always telling me, like, I could start my own business. And he had that entrepreneurial spirit that he always had throughout his life. I was always proud to share my career accomplishments and eventually share the family I built, my wife. I'm grateful that he got to spend time with our children during his summers in Ohio. We would head up to Grandma E's house, and we went to her house almost every weekend. And it wasn't the easiest commitment for Sarah and I because, we have 2 small children now, but, it was well worth it. I'd go there with my family and Jaren's family and Jason, and, it kept Great Papa really busy. Every weekend he got to look forward to that, and I know he enjoyed that. I'll miss our chats about the stock market, new companies, development of AI and nanotechnology, and he always wanted me to read about companies using the newest technologies. He was always thinking about those long-term investments, and Papa's the reason why I'm successful today. He helped pay for my and all of his grandkids' education. He wanted us to, have the best opportunities that we could have to have a successful life, whatever we wanted to do. And he always told my mom, like, she'll have that responsibility one day for her grandchildren. So, she'll that he had for his grandchildren. Today, our hearts hold both sadness and deep gratitude. Gratitude for his long life, for his steady presence, and for the countless ways he shaped who we are. Papa, you gave us so much. Your legacy lives in every step we take, every accomplishment we celebrate, and every moment of love we share with one another. I will always be thankful that I got to spend my first 35 years of my life knowing Papa, and that he got to hang out with my children. He meant so much to me. I'd like to end with a short Jewish proverb. Say not in grief, he is no more, but in thankfulness that he was. That's it.
To those words spoken as a prayer, together let us say Amen.
Let's see, can I read? Yeah, okay. I believe I know all of you anyhow. For those of you I don't, my name's Mark Ostrowski. I'm Howard's son-in-law, married to his eldest daughter, Ellie. And shortly after Ellie and I married in the late 60s, some of you lived through it, and some of you heard all about it. As divisive as the country is now, maybe it was as divisive back then. Maybe not, I don't know. But there was a show on television called All in the Family. And by the way, like the characters of the show, Ellie and I would periodically live with Joan and Howard while I was going to college. And then the show was on. And for those of you too young to remember the show, they would approach subjects that were really taboo on other shows. For example, they'd approach racism, sexism, feminism, and so on. And the show focused on a really colorful character named Archie Bunker, who was this typical blue-collar Republican war veteran from Queens, New York. And believe it or not, back then, Howard was not the CNN liberal that we all know today. In fact, he was I wouldn't say he was a Republican, but he was very conservative, and he supported the war in Vietnam, okay, which Ellie and I could not understand. And we used to have our fights, and I would call Howie Archie, like Archie Bunker. And to get back at me, he would call me, oops, there goes the yarmulke. There, thank you. And then he would call me Meathead, because Meathead was Archie's son-in-law, who also lived with the family, married to Archie's daughter. And that was Archie's nickname for his hippie son-in-law on the TV show. Anyhow, one night, Howie came home, and at that time, the newspaper came, and everybody got the newspaper, unlike today, where we have smartphones and so on. And there was also an evening edition of the newspaper. So the first thing you do when you got out of your car in the drive or the garage is you'd go out and grab the paper, and you'd go in, and it was folded in half, and you look at the headline, and then you just look on the front page below the fold. And this one particular evening, Ellie and I are there, and he looks at the Cleveland Press, I believe it was, and it said, "Thousands protest war in Vietnam." And he looked at us and he said, "Thank God Mark isn't involved in this idiotic garbage." And I didn't say anything. And I didn't know this was going to happen, but he opened the paper, and there was my picture on the front page with my name. And all I was doing was playing guitar at a protest down by Case Western Reserve University. And for some reason, they chose me and this harmonica player to feature rather than the protesters. So it looked like we were leading a demonstration. And Howard was enraged, actually. And over the years, for some of the earlier years, our relationship would be a bit contentious. We would always spar back and forth. They used to call it the dozens, right? I don't know if anyone's ever heard of that, but it's like you'd say one thing to somebody and they'd say back at you. Sort of like your mama, that kind of thing. And things would eventually work out. In fact, maybe the last 20 or more summers, we lived together in the house because he would come back to Cleveland for the summers. And all I can say is, despite all of our differences, and we had quite a few, we always got along. We were always respectful of one another. And ultimately, I just want to say, I really lucked out, and I couldn't have imagined back then, if anybody told me that I had the most wonderful father-in-law imaginable for more than 56 years. He was always there for us, and I will always count him as one of the greatest blessings of my life. Howie, you will be sorely missed.
And to those words, let us say Amen.
I'm kind of a introvert loner, so sorry, I'm going to be reading off my phone for what I have to say and wearing my sunglasses. I'm Alexandra. I am Howard Lobert's granddaughter. I'm one of his granddaughters, one of his grandchildren. My grandfather, whom we all in the family affectionately call Papa, was a truly one-of-a-kind gentleman. They just don't make them like that anymore. Today, I want to thank my grandfather and reminisce on some of the good times. Papa, thank you for all you've done, and most of all, for being what was essentially a third parent to me for all these years, especially as of recently, as my mother, whom I don't like to talk about because I get too upset, but especially as of recently, as my mother, who's always been my rock, hasn't currently been available, and that's been overwhelmingly tough on me. All of this seems very surreal, as it's going to be hard not having you around. You've been extremely loving, supportive, and protective in so many ways, all the while from when I was born and a young child in Greater Boston to when I grew up not far from you when we were residing in Miami, Florida, and even up to the recent days we would both visit and reconnect yearly in Ohio during the summer. You've been accepting and encouraging of my art career choice rather than questioning it. You always showed interest in hearing about my latest endeavors, making me feel heard and taken seriously. Since Grandma Joan passed when I was merely 14 years old, it was always so gracious of you to compare me to her and tell me stories of how I likely got some of my creative genes and color theory techniques from her insane love for color. I will miss sending you candy for Father's Day, giving you birthday presents and cards, little mini birthday cakes, and the way Jeremiah and I planned our trips to visit Ohio in August so that we didn't miss your birthdays. I'm going to miss taking so much time to put on a face full of makeup so this way your first impression of me on any particular given visit would have been a positive one, where I would receive the stamp of approval from you. Your compliments meant the world to me. Sometimes this extra work might have felt like inconveniences, but I'm going to miss these inconveniences so much now that I don't have them anymore. That makes my heart heavy and sad. But I also will focus on the good laughs, the great conversation, and your kindness. I'm going to miss hearing you talk with family and shuffle around in the kitchen or living room whenever we visit. I'm going to miss walking in on you having a snack and greeting me hello. It was hard coming into town last night and seeing the saltwater taffy in the kitchen that I know must have been yours. I'm going to miss your laugh and voice that could never be duplicated. I'm going to miss your jokes. I'm really going to miss you on every level. You were a great one, so you are a lot to lose. And yet, perhaps I'm not losing you at all. I know you will always be in my heart and on my mind, and I know that you'll always protect us. I love you so much. Please rest well. Please always continue looking out for us. We will always need your protection and guidance and good vibes being sent our way. That's what you've always been, a man who looks out for others, setting an example for others to follow, and probably the most giving, least greedy person I'll ever have the pleasure of knowing. We will miss you so very much. I was trying to find a photo of myself, Jeremiah, my husband, and Papa together. Well, personally, I didn't find any of the three of us together on my own. He did, but I didn't. I did find several of Papa in my phone over the years, and every time I found a photo of him in my phone, there was a big, giant cake right in front of him. I will have that to smile about, and I'm glad we had all those 98th birthdays down to the most recent one to celebrate together as a family. And an inside joke between Papa and myself, I know no one else will understand it, but I love you more than you love me. And I knew that you knew that I knew that you knew. See you later, one of my very favorite people, and I don't have many of those. My precious, yet so big and inspirational Papa, it's your turn to take it easy on yourself.
And to all of those words spoken as a prayer, let us say Amen. We gather to recall the life and the deeds of your dear Howard Lobert. A couple of months ago, we gathered to usher in the new year 5786, and we swept out the difficulties and sins and hatreds of last year, a very difficult year for the Jewish people and the state of Israel, and for many other people as well. And we prayed, and we gave tzedakah, we gave charity, and we resolved to usher in a better year. As we gather to praise Howard's life and mourn his passing and laugh and cry and smile and praise his fine attributes and his good works and his good deeds, we ask, are there grounds for optimism? Are there reasons to hope for a better year? Listen closely to what God said to Abraham in Genesis chapter 12, verse 3. It was a Torah portion at the beginning of the book of the beginning of November. It's a deep Torah teaching which applies to every single person here today. Whether in person or on the Ethernet somewhere, it applies to you. Many people never even realize this Torah teaching. It passes right over their heads. And he was 6'4", so it still passed over his head, even at 6'4". But for those of us that are much shorter, it's a lot easier. But it went right over my head for a long time. In Genesis chapter 12, verse 3, God says to Abram, I will bless those who bless you and curse him who curses you. Did you hear it? I will bless those who bless you and curse him who curses you. The first is in the plural and the second is in the singular. I will bless those who bless you and curse him who curses you. In the early 14th century, about 750 years ago, Levi ben Gershon, a French Jew and philosopher, noted an important message in that specific verse. Ultimately, those who appreciate us, the Jewish people, will be many, and those who hate us, the Jewish people, will be few. Obviously, as a people, we're not yet in that ultimate time. However, when you bring that teaching down to the individual level and apply it to Howard, it's a truthful teaching. Many are those who appreciate him, and few are those who did not appreciate him or did not like him. And in addition, he was a tremendous blessing to each and every one of you who knew him. He was born here in Cleveland on August 15th, 1927. You're right, August is going to be very different from now on. It really will be. His parents, Maurice and Celia, of blessed memory. He was the baby of 3 children, all now of blessed memory. Sherry, Al, and Howard. He was a naturally talented mechanic, and he had skills which he inherited from his father, a Romanian immigrant of the early 1900s. He was raised in an era of innovation, and he served proudly in the United States Navy during World War II, and that's a tremendous picture. It's a beautiful picture of him. He participated in the South Pacific Campaign before reaching his 18th birthday. At age of 21, he married his lifelong partner, Joan, in Newport, Rhode Island, and they shared a loving and devoted marriage of 46 years. At the time of Joan's death in February 1996. There have been many blessings in this family and many, many challenges. We have 2 children, 4 grandchildren, and 4 great-grandchildren. I will try to list them all. If I make any mistakes, please let me know. Children: Ellie and Mark, Enid and Dave. Grandchildren: Alexandra, Alex, and Jeremiah. Jason, Jaron, and Jonathan, Justin, and Sarah. And the great-grandchildren: Hannah and Emily, Delilah and James. So beautiful. He was a man of quiet significance, and he made a lasting impact on the world of technology, and he remained humble about his many accomplishments. He was an innovator and a pioneer, installing the first air conditioner in his home, building color televisions from scratch for his family, and developing the first heart-lung machine for the Cleveland Clinic. As a young child, I remember a neighbor of our family in Chicago, and somebody was on a heart-lung machine. It looked like an MRI. It was a whole huge thing. It was just incredible. He did all of these things while working at IBM. So here's the computer, and it's an old one, but he wanted it. And you had the story about the computer on the phone, right? Never liked it, or couldn't always get the one that he wanted to work. But he was always going to get the update, right? Yeah, just going to wait for the update on that. Later, he founded his own company, Datatron, which was acquired by Avnet Nowtech Data Corporation. He was leasing desktop computers to corporations and institutions before the technology made it to the retail market. Over the past several years, Howard and Arlene have been keeping company, and when we spoke on the phone, she said, "I'm heartbroken. He was the love of my life at this late stage in our lives. It's hard. A lot of people loved him. Everybody loved him. His legacy lives on through his family and his friends and his works. He was an incredibly independent man, and the past few months have been very, very challenging. Up until recently, he was healthy. And when you say 98, the family would say, a young 98. And you could see the pictures, and he was a young 98. I know we all know people far younger than that aren't as young as him at 98. What a blessing. Until recently, he was healthy. And on Sunday, November 16th, he breathed his last. And in some ways, it's a shock. Somebody is with you for so long. And then when someone breathes his last, it is a shock. The Sabbath day is a time of rest and peace and wholeness, and so now it is also for our dear Howard. It's a time of rest and peace. His soul is returning to God and to be with the souls of his relatives, friends, and the ancestors of our people. We learn this in Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 7. The dust returns to the earth as it was. The spirit returns to God who gave it. One day all of us will join our dear ones in Olam Haba, the world to come. Olam Haba is not a place. This is a place. The cemetery is a place. Olam Haba is a time. It's an eternal time when our souls will be together with our loved ones again. When we get to the cemetery and we place the casket in the ground, we will place a few prayer books on top of it, because it's a mitzvah not only to escort the body of your loved one to its final resting place, also holy books of our tradition. Your memories are filled, and we give thanks to God for this gift of long life, 98 years. May we be kinder and more thoughtful of others, more eager to help and serve others in his loving memory. And there should be things that you do. Maybe you should eat some more saltwater taffy. Maybe you should make more birthday cakes. Find ways to find pleasure even in the sadness, because there are things that he would want you to enjoy, certainly. And do those things in his loving memory. So we conclude with words from the first chapter of the book of Job. Adonai Natan, v'Adonai Lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai Mevarach. The Lord hath given, the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And let us say, Amen. Ose Shalom Bimromav, Hu Ya'aseh Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael, Ve'imru, Yimru, Amen. Ya'aseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. Yaseh Shalom, Yaseh Shalom, Shalom Aleinu, Ve'al Kol Yisrael. May God, who causes peace to reign in the high heavens, cause peace to rain down upon us, upon all Israel, and upon the soul of our dearly departed, Howard Lobert. And let us say, Amen. In a moment we will rise for the El Malei Rachamim. However, before then, if there are people who will be pallbearers, just know that after the El Malei, the funeral director will call you forward to be a pallbearer. And then we will go in procession to Mount Olive Cemetery. The family has asked that if you care to make donations in his loving memory, that donations may be made to the City of Hope or the Greater Cleveland Food Bank in Howard's memory. We will recite Kaddish for him at the grave, and we'll recite Kaddish at our synagogue, Temple Israel Ner Tamid, for the next month, each Friday night. Every Wednesday afternoon, the kids will get reps on the Kaddish, saying Kaddish for Howard. On Sunday mornings, the kids will get reps on the Kaddish, saying Kaddish for Howard. It'll be a privilege. If no family members are at the service Friday night, it'll still be our privilege to recite Kaddish for him each and every service. Please rise for El Malei Rachamim. Into your care, O God, we entrust the spirit of Howard Lobert. For you keep faith with your children in death as in life. Sustain us that we may meet with serenity the mysteries that lie ahead, knowing that when we walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you, O God, are with us, a loving friend in whom we put our trust. You are the light of our life, our hope in eternity. El Malei Rachamim, Shochein Bamromim, Hametzeh Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei Hashchina, Lim Kedoshim U'Tohorim, Gezohar Rakia Masirim, Et Nishmat Howard Lobert, Shahalach Lolamo, Baal Harachamim, Yastirehu B'Setekan Afav Le'olamim, Vayitzror B'Tzror HaChayim, Et Nishmato, Adonai Hu Nachalato, V'yanu Arpe Shalom Al Mishkavo, V'nomar Amen. Compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence to our dear Howard Lobert. He has entered eternity. O God of mercy, let him find refuge in the shadow of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace, and let us say, Amen. Now, funeral director will come and give us directions. Ayita Danu